everybody, this is Jackie from Jack Gets Lost Down a Book Hole. Yesterday, or Wednesday's top 5 topic this week was Unlikable Protagonist. And unfortunately, I was unable to do it because I was struggling with coming up with protagonists that people thought were unlikable. And so I ended up having to I didn't make one, and I watched other people's videos on what they considered unlikable protagonists until I finally started thinking about the ones that I like that are probably considered unlikable after watching those videos. So today for this video, I've decided to I decided to go ahead and list mine, the ones that I would have put on the top 5. Although there might not be 5. I don't think there's not 5 of these, unless I have trouble talking about some of these. So here are my list of unlikable protagonists. Okay, these two I came with. Well, one half of this pairing because this is actually because there's 2 protagonists in the series. And this was actually the one half of this pairing that was the first name that came to mind because it's the first one I've heard people complain about. And that is Clary, Frey, and Jace from the Mortal Instruments. So I have heard that people don't like Clary because she's impulsive, she's whiny, she's very selfish. And I've also heard that Jace is kind of the same way. He's not the whiny part. Well, I guess, yeah, the whiny part is he's very self-involved, very selfish and stuff. And kind of a jerk. Of course, that's also kind of how Will Herondale is. But, of course, you learn that Will only behaves that way because he's pushing people away because he thinks he's cursed, I believe, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time since I read the trilogy, which I'm going to reread that one. So, of course, some people are like, that's no excuse, and others are like, oh, I am in love with Will Herondale, and the only reason he's mean is because of the curse and everything. He believes that he's cursed, and so I'm in the middle when it comes, at least when it comes to that trilogy. But, I think, as other people have said in their videos for this topic, these characters that Clary is impulsive and selfish and everything, but she is also a teenage girl. She just found out she's a demon hunter, a shadow hunter, and that her father is a psycho. He's kind of got that whole Voldemort mentality of we need a pure race and the ones that are different from us. That just made me very much think of Hitler and Stalin. I'm sorry, I just finished reading Salt of the Sea, so me and my dad started talking about that last night. But Voldemort and Valentine kind of make me think of those guys. But anyway, and she's like I said, she's a 16-year-old girl, and of course in the show she's 18, I believe. But in the book she's 16, and there's her mom is in a coma, and never told her that she was a shadow hunter and who her biological father was. And she's a hormonal teen. She's hormonal, and she has 2 boys that she loves, very much. Simon and Jace. So I don't, why wouldn't you want a flawed character? Why wouldn't you want, yes, I understand that these type of characters get annoying at times, but it's just, I'm sure people find you annoying too. Those of you who complain about Clary, I'm sure she is in this crazy situation where demons are coming after her and her father is crazy, and she has all this responsibility that is just thrown on her shoulders, and she doesn't even know whether she wants that responsibility or not. Although I think after book 3, she kind of accepts the situation, accepts who she is and all that. In fact, she wants to stay a shadow hunter, despite the fact that her mom is like trying to talk her out of it and be like, "This life is dangerous," and you can't really blame her mom. But And the same with Jace. I mean, complex, flawed characters are so much more interesting and fun to read about. And like, I feel like it's unfair that people, complain about these characters because they're not perfect, that they make stupid mistakes, that they're an emotional wreck, and that they do dangerous things and they don't always listen to people when people warn them. That's how, I mean, especially when you're a teenager, I'm sure you would do the same thing. And you can deny it all you want, but I mean, how can you know? And besides the fact, how can I or you yourself know for sure how you would act in this situation anyway if you've never been in this situation? Stuff like, particularly in fantasy, doesn't happen every day on a regular basis. Even stuff that happens in like thrillers and contemporary stories that are set in modern times, but crazy things happen, like suspense, like some psycho killer is on the loose, or stuff like that. You don't know. You're not necessarily in those kind of situations on a regular, everyday basis. So how do you know how you would handle them? How would and to be fair, how would I know how you would handle them? Okay, the next person, Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, helped me to think of this, reminded me of this character, and I just read the book, and that is Quoth. Quoth is, he talks himself, he is telling his own story, so he is basically bragging about himself and making himself look good, and, dismissing all the dumb things he's glossing over the dumb things he does and says. But that's just, I mean, like Sam had pointed out, he's telling a story about himself. So, I mean, of course he's going to make himself look awesome. And, and I like his character. I think he's very charming and very funny and very sweet and very much a gentleman. Now, granted, some of this stuff, in reality, he might not be as charming or as sweet, in real life, but I mean, that's just, he's telling, again, I repeat, he's telling a story, he's narrating his own story. No one is going to become, most people are going to use hyperbole or exaggerate their own story to make themselves look incredible. And I think it makes the story more interesting and more compelling, especially if it's from an unreliable narrator. In fact, I'm reading another book that's from an unreliable narrator. I've finally gotten to reading The Girl on the Train, but I did watch the movie version, because my sister kind of pointed out that it might be better if you watch the movie first. Maybe like less confusing if you see the screen version of the book first. So I ended up doing that, and besides the fact I gave the book to my mom, and I didn't get my own copy until like a few weeks ago. A friend of mine had to get rid of some of his books, so one of his books was that one. So I finally decided to read it today. But Quoth, he's an adorable character, and yes, he talks himself up, but I mean, what do you expect? And I like that about it. I mean, I always like that. Like, there's certain arrogance that is just, like, after a while, it's just too much, but, like, I mean, like, in the beginning of Beauty and the Beast, you kind of like, you're not rooting for him, but you kind of like Gaston, because he is like that. He makes himself look good. Not that he's narrating his own story, but he lives in his own little world where he's awesome, and you're almost entertained by that. You find it rather amusing. Until eventually he goes a little crazy because Belle has chosen, the Beast over him, and that's just unacceptable to him. And he's been rejected by the idea of marrying Belle 3 times now. Once by Belle when he first proposed to her, then by her father who said, "You'll never marry my daughter." And then he gets rejected for a 3rd time, and not only rejected, but Belle basically tells him, "You are a monster. You're the monster here." But anyway, yeah, it's kind of entertaining when you see characters who talk themselves up. So that's why I like Quoth. And the good news is Quoth is perfectly sane. He's not unstable or anything like Gaston is. But he's another character. I love him, and he's just so adorable. And yes, there will be times when I roll my eyes and stuff when I'm reading, but I just like him. Okay, so it's been a while since I read, like I said, it's been a while since I read the Eternal Devices, but I heard that a lot of people don't like Tessa. I think a lot of people complained about Tessa Gray, but I liked Tessa. She was really sweet and caring and compassionate. And okay, I get that people did not like how she kind of strung along Jem, and someone pointed out that she only stayed with Jem and was loyal to him because she felt sorry for him. Although to be fair, by the end of the book, when Jem found out and everything, that it was more good points for him. But Tessa ended up with Will for a period of time until Will died because he was an immortal, unlike Jem kind of was living forever because he became I can't remember what those guys are called. One of those brothers of the Bone City. So I think he kind of became immortal. But I guess that's more points for Jem because he was willing to let her go and wait for her. But I think she did grow to love Jem. I think it did start as pity, but I think eventually she grew to love him. Just as much as maybe she loved Will a little bit more, but I mean, but I think she did love Jem too, eventually. But I liked her character, and and she was struggling with trying to do the right thing and do the honorable thing, and yeah, maybe the pitying was wrong, but again, how do you know what you would do in that situation? Would you be brave enough to reject someone like Jem? I mean, even if you know you don't love him and everything, would you be okay with that? I mean, maybe you would. But I don't think I could do that. I think I would feel bad, and maybe it does sound like a pity party, and it's meaner than me rejecting him right out, but of course, I still like Jem anyway, and I could see myself falling for Jem. But I also could see myself falling for Will. But it's been a long time since I read the book, so I don't remember a lot about Tessa's personality. I just remember liking her, but I know people didn't like her, especially because of the whole love triangle. But I liked her. And I felt so bad for her, especially with the whole thing with her brother and everything, and he ended up, because of what she was, her brother genuinely did not love her and basically abandoned her. And just you're not my sister. And she still loved her brother. Even after he did that, I think she still loved him, if I remember. I need to reread that trilogy so I can remember for sure if what I'm saying is 100%. And if I still feel the way I feel. Okay, I chose, so the next person I have on here is Selena Sardothian. I know a lot of people complain about her because she's almost American. I think people say she's too good at everything, and sometimes she can be really bitchy and mean. And now I haven't read Queen of Shadows, so I haven't gone beyond to where she is fully Aelin again. So, but the books, 1 through 3 and Assassin's Blade, I liked her character, and I know she's a bit cocky, and she's thinks very highly of herself, and I think that sometimes can rub people the wrong way. But I always am interested in those kind of characters. That brings me to a character that I didn't write down on here, that I think is kind of like Selena in a different way, and that's Scarlett O'Hara. Scarlett's not a badass in the physical sense, but she's very clever, very resourceful and intelligent, and the problem is she goes about it in the wrong way. She basically took her sister's bow from her, stole him away, and I think his name was Charles, Melanie's brother. Scarlett used him too. She only agreed to marry him so she could be close to Ashley. And he wouldn't leave her alone. I think, and yeah, she stringed a lot of people along But I still, in her case, just like Selena, I liked her bitchiness and her self-confidence in herself, and how she was like very, aggressive. Was like she knew what she wanted. She was gonna go right for it. And yeah, her means of getting what she wanted were totally screwed up. But I was very entertained. I wonder what she would do next, and I was intrigued by her story. And it's the same with Selena. I was very intrigued by both their stories and how they went about things. Now, like I said, in the case of Selena, I've not read Queen of Shadows. I hear a lot of people were not satisfied with Queen of Shadows. And one of the things I'm really pissed about, that I don't like, that Sarah J. Maas, I still want to read the books. And it's very frustrating because I want to enjoy Queen of Shadows, but I keep hearing all these negatives about it. So I'm very nervous about reading it. But I hear, I did not like what she did with Kale's character. That bugged me. But I'm hoping, like everybody else who's a Kale fan, that still is a Kale fan, that Tower of Dawn will improve his character and make him better. Because I think he's done a lot of other stuff in Queen of Shadows that people do not, people are upset by. And, like, his conflicting emotions. I could put him on this list, too. Because I know people give him people don't like him either. But he's not technically a protagonist. I guess maybe you could call him a protagonist. But I still like, he's done a lot of questionable things, and that's the one, and that frustrates me. I do not like how Sarah J. Maas did that. Because Kale's my baby, one of my babies. But so are Selena and Dorian too, and I feel so bad for what happens to Dorian in Heir of Fire. It breaks my heart. But anyway, back to talking about unlike protagonists. But I like both Selena and Scarlet, and I can't really relate to them. Not just because Scarlet's from a different time period, and Selena is Fae and from a completely different world from mine. But but also just their personalities aren't anything like them. They're not like me I'm not like them. The only thing I have in common with Selena is she has a passion for reading, and I think I do have a bit of a temper. I don't think I have anything in common with Scarlett O'Hara, but I love reading about them because of their flaws. It makes them so much more interesting, and you want to understand why they think the way they do, and what drives them, and you root for them in a way. You root for them. You want them to be happy. You want them to get what they want. I mean, you wish that they went. In the case of Scarlett, I wish she went about it in a different way. But I still root for her. I still like reading them, and they still fascinate me. Like, I know a lot of people don't, like those type of characters, but I do. Okay, so I was unsure about this one, because all the characters in this duology are kind of, like, they're all very Shades of Grey type characters and very flawed. But he is the protagonist, and you know what? I probably won't include him anyway, but it was Kaz Brekker. But like I said, I included him because he's protagonist and he's a very flawed character. But thinking about it now, I don't know if he's unlikable. I don't know if people don't like him. I mean, so far I've heard only a few people who loved it. I've heard positive things about the series, so maybe he's not considered unlikable, because all the characters are full of shades of grey and are completely flawed. So I'm not gonna, because I don't know. Okay, next one, Sansa Stark from A Song of Ice and Fire, or the TV, or according to the TV, a Game of Thrones. I know a lot of people did not like Sansa Stark, because especially if you were a fan of Arya, her sister, then you probably didn't like her. And I admit, I didn't like her either. She frustrated me. But then now that I've read, but now that I've progressed on the show, and I feel like Sansa gets the short end of the stick. She has always given such a hard time, because she can be really bitchy towards her sister, towards Arya, and she's very judgmental of Arya. Because Arya is the tomboy of the family. She doesn't act like a lady. And she's very hard on Joffrey, although Joffrey deserves more than Arya to be hard on him. He's a little weasel. And I did not, And when he died, spoiler alert, I did not feel sorry for him at all. I rooted for that death because he was a little annoying little prick that I want to punch in the face. I cannot stand him. And it's funny though because watching an interview with Jack Gleason, the one who plays him on the show, he actually seems like such a sweet guy and very nice and very charming. And while Joffrey is the complete opposite, he's a sleazeball and and a bully and a big whiny baby. He's a little and. But the problem with Sansa is that she is a product of her society. She was always told, drilled into her head, to act like a little princess. And she was going to marry a prince. And she might never get the chance to meet him until she's of marrying age. And Arya is not like that at all. And of course, Arya is also her little sister. Speaking as a little sister, I know how annoying we can be. And so I get that, Sansa, and I feel bad for Sansa. There's so much, so she was told her whole life she had to act a certain way, and she was gonna marry Joffrey, and her prince would come and rescue her, and she would live happily ever after. She had that whole mentality in her head her whole life, and she's only 11 years old in the book anyway. I think she's a little. The actress is older than 11 on the show. But she's an 11-year-old girl, and Joffrey put on quite a little performance for her. Acting like the Prince Charming and perfect. I mean, yeah, Joffrey is pretty much an asshole to Arya, but I mean, Arya is Sansa's annoying little sister who who gives her all these problems, and not that she does, but you know what I mean. Frustrate Sansa, and she's kind of stuck with Arya as a sister. So it's like, and then unfortunately Sansa learns the hard way that life is not a fairy tale. I mean, she is bullied by Cersei and Joffrey makes her watch her father get his head chopped off, and then takes her over to watch where Joffrey puts the heads on the little sticks and hangs them on and posts them on the wall and forces her to look at that. And she is being tossed around, and she ends up being forced to marry Joffrey's uncle Tyrion, who is a great guy, but he's also a Lannister, and her experience with the Lannisters has not been good. And Tyrion is much older than Sansa. She's a little girl. I mean, like I said, she's a lot younger in the books than she is in the show. And then she has this guy this older man who's trying to help her out, but secretly he's this pervert who was in love with her mother, and he sees Sansa as being like her mother. So he's all interested in her and all that, and so Sansa has gone and she's suffered and been frightened and bullied by everybody at the court. And then she was, in the guy Littlefinger, the pervert guy, he arranges her to marry, that one dude, I can't remember his name. What is his name? I'm drawing a blank here. That one other bastard, the one little punk, I can't remember his name, but that one guy, his family was supposed to be, an allies with the Starks. Roose is the, Roose Bolton, he's the father, he's the guy's biological father. I cannot remember the other guy's name. That Bolton guy. She's forced to marry him, although the book is a little different, to be fair, but I haven't gotten that far in the book. She is, in the show, she's forced to marry him. Remember that kid, in the show, he raped Sansa. But, in the books, I think he rapes a different girl, like Jane Poole or someone. And I think that's the one whom he marries, but he does, in the show, he marries Sansa and he rapes her and everything. So Sansa goes through hell. and she's so young. So I think, so I think Sansa is given a hard time, and people don't like her, at least in the beginning. But I started to, and yeah, in the beginning, I didn't like her at first, but as I watch the story goes on and see what she goes through, I definitely start to like her and feel bad for her, and definitely want to take her out of the world she's in. So so Sansa Stark, she's unlikable, but I really like her character, and I think later as the story progresses, she becomes a lot stronger of a person, and starts to learn how to play the game, so to speak. Okay, this is another one that I don't really. It's hard for me to talk about, not because I can't, but it's just I tickle my throat. Katniss Everdeen. It's hard for me because I don't know. I mean, I think people have complained about her too, but I don't know. I can't think of specific things. I just know that I like Katniss too, and I think people have criticized her for kind of the same reasons that they criticize like some of these other girls like Clary and again, she is living in a world where she has to survive, and she doesn't realize that Gale, and of course she's caught between these two guys, and some people don't. I think people have complained about that, and feel like she only chose, Peeta because because Gale turned out to be kind of a bad guy, and not a bad guy, but he made some bad choices that that she can't forgive. But I feel like, but to be fair, I feel like they were in this crazy situation, and she had this, and plus she and Peeta went through the games together. Games where they could have died. And they were allies in this. They were partners. So I feel like she didn't just choose him because, Gale, I think she did have conflicting thoughts in the second book. But I don't think she just chose Peeta because, Gale I can't forgive Gale for what he did, so I'm going to choose Peeta. I think she generally started to fall for Peeta. Now, of course, like I said, this is again another series where it's been a long time since I read the trilogy, which I think I might go ahead and borrow it from the library because we no longer have the books. So I might borrow them from the library and reread them. But from what I remember, and I admit this is probably partly going more so from the movies, is that I think she really did generally love and fall for Peeta. Not just because he was there, but, partly because he was there, but I think they spent a lot of time together, and they were in this horrible situation. Gale cannot understand. Yes, he's been through some horrible things too, and he suffered too, but he wasn't in the games with her. He just watched it from afar. And maybe that's not fair to his character, but, when you are in this situation together with someone, that's a bond that you can't escape. That's a connection. It's like going to an actual war, which in a way the games were like a war. There's an unspeakable bond between the two of you, between the people, your troop, your group. And this is kind of the same way. I feel like she had this bond with Peeta that she didn't share with Gale, that she couldn't share with Gale because he wasn't in the games. He doesn't understand. Now, I think, he probably would have volunteered to go in the games if Peeta didn't. But that's not how it turned out. So I feel like you can't fault her for. I feel like it's a little unfair to fault her for choosing Peeta over Gale. And only because, he was there, and it was just convenient, and Gale did this horrible thing, so she's gonna automatically go to Peeta, because he's her only other choice. And, like I said, Peeta understands her situation, what she's feeling, more so than Gale does, I feel like. And, of course, this is just my opinion. But I like her, and I feel like she's a very strong character. She's not perfect, but she's a very strong, independent character who tries really hard to do the best she can to survive and to care about those that she loves. And yeah, she's kind of not a people person, but I love her for that. I love how she's tough and not a people person. Like, again, I mean, and I like how that her behavior kind of, that's the connection she has with Haymitch. They're both kind of like that. Not people not good with people, and not good with being charming. Although I think she does get a little bit better at it, like at least in front of the camera. Because she kind of has no choice in the matter. She kind of has to be. Like, and it kind of goes to what my dad was talking to me about last night. How sometimes when you are in these crazy situations where you have no choice in the matter, you can step. You are kind of forced to step up your game a little bit. So I feel like if you have no choice, then yes, I think Katniss had no choice, and she did have to step up her game and be more charming and likable in front of the camera. But I liked her. I think that was one of the things I think I remember most people complain about, the whole love triangle and how she went about it and everything. But I don't know if there's anything else. Okay, so I was trying to think of the guy in this story, because especially since, for some reason, you would think I'd be able to think about it because he is the narrator of the story mostly, except for one of the books. His character temporarily disappears, so half the book is told through the female protagonist. I cannot remember his name though, and that's in the Castor Chronicles. The two main characters in that one, like I said, I cannot remember his name. It might randomly just pop into my head while I'm filming this. But the female, of course, is Lena. And I know I think a lot of people complain about Lena for the reasons they complain about characters like Clary, and she's a bit whiny. And I admit that it was kind of nice that most of the series, with the exception of the one book, I think it was Beautiful Chaos, where it was told from her perspective, not just his. Oh, the movie It just finished. Sorry, I was watching the movie It. It was on Spike, and I think I just heard the ending credits music. But I think people, again, I'm kind of just guessing on these characters. I don't know if people actually complain about these characters. I know some of them, like Clary and Quoth and Tessa, I know people complain about them, and I think people complain about Selena, and Sansa. Like I said, I left Kaz because I don't know. People might actually like his flaws, and he might not be as unlikable as, anyway, back to Lena. Like I said, I think people would complain about her. She is very flawed, she's impulsive, she's very emotional, and I know people did not like, I think that was why some people did not like the series, because of her character, and his character, which, again, I wish I could remember his name. They just got more whiny and stuff, and I think they said that he seemed more girly, more feminine in the later books. But I disagree, and I love the series, I love those two protagonists, I love those characters. But I do agree, but it was, in Beautiful Chaos, it was kind of nice, or it might have been Beautiful Redemption. Yeah, it was Beautiful Redemption, I think, where it was from Lena's perspective, also. It was from both their perspectives. But yeah, I don't, like, in Beautiful Darkness, yeah, she made some stupid decisions, and her whole mentality of, because Ethan, that is his name, Ethan! I told you I was gonna pop in the middle of this movie, in the middle of this video. Ethan, she had saved his life and killed her uncle. She sacrificed, so I can't blame her for feeling the way she did. And yes, she chose to thought she has to be dark. But at the same time, you can't blame her for feeling that way and feeling guilty and then feeling like because, and plus, it's like inevitable in her the women in her family, it's inevitable that they go dark when they do something like that. Like they bring someone back from the dead, which in the laws of magic, I mean, you see this trope used often in stories about magic, that you can't bring back the dead, and when you do, there are great consequences. Which I'm glad, because I feel like it's unfair if, like, they have a story where a character comes back from the dead, but there's no consequences, there's no price to that. And the price was she had to sacrifice her uncle, and she started going dark. So I get why she went all dark and went all broody and stuff, and went all evil on him, on Ethan and everything. And I also get Ethan's feelings on all this. He's stressed that he's fine. He's just found out that this is the girl he loves more than anything, and he's caught up in this whole crazy caster world where he's dealing with all these witch, evil, dark casters coming after him, and these succubuses coming after him, and I get all those characters. Like I get their feelings on the situation and their actions in the situation. I understand them. And as I said, just like with Clary, you can't really know for sure how you would handle that kind of situation if you were in a crazy situation like that, because stuff like that does not happen. As far as we know, there is no magic in the world, at least not that kind of magic. And there's no, we're not in a dystopian society, and there's no demons as far as we know, or at least, I mean, if you're a religious person, then I don't know if you believe in demons or not, but not like in fantasy. There's no vampires or werewolves or demons or anything, not like in the fantasy books. I mean, it'd be cool, well, not cool, but make life a lot more interesting if stuff like that happened, but then I would probably regret it if it did happen. But anyway, you wouldn't know how you would handle that situation. Especially if you're a teenager. So I feel like it's a little bit unfair to judge and get on the case of these characters. All these characters that I mentioned, just because you don't like how they behave and you find them annoying. And like I said, I can't force anyone to like these characters, but all I can do is just say, just share my opinion on how I feel about this. But so far, these are the ones that I could think of. So I hope you enjoy my list, and I'm wondering what you would think, how you feel about this. Like, what are your opinions on this? Do you agree with me about these characters? Do you agree that these, do you like these characters that I mentioned? And just comment below. Alright, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my little video. Right.